Previously on the Artifex event.
Cyrus, what the hell were you thinking? Running an unauthorized program on a high-security asset? Let alone a goddamn Vec at that?
I swear, you can check all the system files. All I did was run through the default protocol.
What's going on in here? Holy shit, Cyrus.
This is a peculiar chassis. It will take some time to readjust and set functionality protocols.
Hey, Graves! I have a detainee in need of processing.
Alright, give me a sec. I have to... Revport? You're detaining Revport? What the hell for?
It's not that simple, Cyrus. The Council will want to know how the hell you were able to activate a Vec unit.
And there's questions as to how you gained clearance to access the asset.
I told you, Landax.
Look, I trust you on this, but that won't be enough. At least to get you out of formal proceeding with the XUC.
Revport, get up. It's time. Turn and face the back wall.
Let me handle this. Besides, Deckard still needs you to finish up some document work.
Why can't I just give it during my statement?
There's still a process to all this, Wallace. You can't just make formal arrests without documentation.
With all due respect, unless I hear it from Deckard himself, it probably isn't worth my time.
Don't push your luck, kid. Just do what you're told.
You're not much higher up on the chain than I am. Your orders don't mean shit.
You think I don't have sway with Deckard? You come in here peacocking around, acting like you own the goddamn place for arresting a tech too. But all I have to do is bring up your incident on Ilisarth. You'd be swarmed with ISM synths. Don't act like you don't know what the hell I'm talking about.
Wallace scoffed. He then turned and gave me an uneasy glance before holstering his weapon.
Fine.
Graves then deactivated the detainment field and placed another set of stasis cuffs on me.
Look, if it were up to me, I wouldn't even bother latching these things on you, but if someone catches me not following procedure, who knows what kind of shit would get stirred up.
That's rather ironic, isn't it?
Yeah, well, some regulations hold more merit than others.
Isn't that the truth? Graves then led me over to his desk and gestured towards one of the seats adjacent to his terminal.
There's a few items I still have to process before I bring you before the briefing relay.
Wait, my trial isn't going to be held on planet?
It's already been 3 months Velios capital time since the incident was logged. And it'll be another 3 months before we hit the Xium cluster. Gravitational time dilation is quite the bitch.
Well, Jesus, you'd think they'd be able to exercise a little goddamn patience. Surely they have more important shit to occupy their time.
Patience isn't exactly the Xium Union's forte, if you haven't caught on to that already.
Yeah. He rigorously entered information into the interface for a few quiet moments, and then sharply fixed his focus back upon me.
If we can be candid here, I'm not entirely thrilled about this process either. I couldn't give a damn about the XUC's interests or regulations. Hell, even Cantor agrees this whole thing's been blown out of proportion.
Do you think her statement will help?
Maybe. It's a hell of a lot better than nothing.
But I don't understand. I thought you said...
I know what I said, but the Council is protective of their interests. And if you so much as happen to end up being a minor inconvenience when it pertains to that, they won't roll the dice. Look, I genuinely believe that the worst case scenario will end up with you having to pay a fine, so the sooner we process the rest of the item list, the sooner we can get you out of those stasis cuffs.
Yeah, okay.
Nothing major, just some basic info. Alright, ER number?
TC200-18768.
Okay. ID pathway?
Halifax JM.
Well, no shit. You're a Parthax boy too, huh?
Yeah, I didn't.
Stay there long? I know. I'm skimming through your file. Sorry. Anyway, the rest of this is pretty straightforward. I'll just transfer what I... Well, hold on. That's odd.
What's the problem?
Well, your documents are flagged as unverified for some reason.
That can't be right, surely.
Relax, it's nothing to really fret over. Probably just a weak connection. We are trying to access a network that's thousands of light years away.
Yeah, fair point.
Alright, well, I guess we can't put this off any longer, or they'll more than likely skin my hide, too.
The air throughout the corridors never felt so heavy, as each step that I'd take seemed to rattle my absolute frame. How the hell was I going to work myself out of this? I've been thrown into shitty situations in the past, but never to Xium Union level before. Surely Landax and Cantor's statements would hold enough weight, right? God, I just don't know. We rounded the corner along a service corridor and called for a lift. The gates then suddenly slid open to reveal Alys fixated on her Cyro tool. The abrupt stop of the lift caught her attention only momentarily, before she quickly cloaked the panicked glance she gave me.
Morning, Miss Cantor.
Morning, Graves. Revport.
The three of us sat in silence as the motors for the lift continued to churn and carry us further up the ship. So, have you gotten any word from Landax?
Cyrus, you know I can't tell you that.
Why the hell not? Is it because of him?
No. Look, I trust Graves, okay? I'm just not permitted to discuss information pertaining to the trial.
And you think Wallace isn't running his mouth about the trial?
I guarantee that he is, but knowing our luck, if word got around that I was feeding you information, shit could go very sideways very quickly. Listen, whatever you do, don't lose your head in there, especially towards Wallace. And don't air any grievances at the council. It won't end well.
She then walked away and entered the briefing relay room.
You think you'll need a few moments? Or are you good?
I don't think there's anything that can make me ready for this.
Look, I don't know all the details, but from what I can gather from all this, you're a good kid, Cyrus. The council will recognize that, maybe slap you with a fine, and move on. Simple as that.
Alright, then I guess I'm good. As we passed through the gate, Captain Ilisarth stood firmly in front of the hollow relay. Bridge Officer Deckard, Wallace, and a few other MPs were assigned to a designated area, while Sergeant Landax and Alys were placed to the right of the relay. Captain Ilisarth then approached me.
Corporal Revport, as your commanding officer and an acting captain of this vessel, it is under my legal obligation to inform you of the testimony order that will take place throughout the trial. Sergeant Landax will provide his statement first, followed by Specialist Cantor. Officer Wallace will then give his account of the events. Once those statements have been presented, you will be allowed to address any questions that the council representatives may have. Now that the procedure has been explained to you in full, do you verbally give confirmation to have comprehended the instruction that has been provided?
Yes, sir.
Good. Private Vylon, do we have a clear transmission with Velios?
Signal path is clear, sir.
Very good. Patch them through.
The private began to briefly interact with a hollow interface before a violent cyan hue emitted from the relay.
Captain Ilisarth, have all the necessary parties been gathered and currently present for today's proceeding?
Yes, Miss Speaker. The trial may commence at the council's discretion.
Very well. Corporal Cyrus James Revport, you have been formally charged with the following: violating Article 2 of the Xium Trade Agreement, running an unauthorized program on a high-security asset, forging security clearance, and attempted theft. The representatives present at this proceeding will take record of the statements made and use them to form a respectable verdict. The floor will now call upon Sergeant Tillian Landax.
Sergeant Landax, was it at your behest that Corporal Revport tender asset number 3764 Charlie?
No, I was given specific orders from Captain Ilisarth to temporarily assign a Tech 2 to tend to the asset, until Specialist Cantor and all the other Tech 1s were finished repairing a breach in one of the tritanium generators on the engineering level.
And were you currently aware of Corporal Revport's previous history?
Yes, I was. But all those accounts happened well before Corporal Revport joined the Coalition. In the 3 years that he served under my company, I've had nothing but positive interactions and dealings with him.
Thank you, Sergeant Landax. The Council will keep note of that moving forward. The floor will now turn towards Specialist Cantor for further statements.
Miss Cantor, can you provide the Council with a detailed account of the events you witnessed?
Yes. I'm the initial Tech 1 assigned to Asset 3764C. However, as Sergeant Landax previously mentioned, there was an unexpected hull breach in one of the tritium generators, located on the engineering level. Captain Ilisarth informed all of Technician 1s aboard the FTV Prophet to assist with the damage, which meant that my tasks would temporarily have to be delegated to a Technician 2 until the emergency was properly dealt with. The procedure that I was assigned to for that day was just a standard system diagnostic, so I felt comfortable that any Tech 2 would be capable of running through the protocol.
And from your professional opinion, did Corporal Revport fail to properly run through said system diagnostic?
There was no sign of negligence from Corporal Revport's practice. I even thoroughly checked the item list, and nothing appeared out of order. Once the relay levels had stabilized...
Can you further elaborate over what happened once you returned to your post?
I made my way back to Monitor Lab 7B to check on the asset. Only the vessel had suddenly lost power. I also noticed something was off, considering that Officer Vraz wasn't stationed at the door, and there was what sounded like an unstable electric emission coming from the other side of the door. I manually unlocked the gates to find the VEC unit standing over Corporal Revport with hostile intent. That's when I proceeded to discharge my weapon and terminate the asset.
Do you believe that Corporal Revport's previous history and experience with data fracking has any relevance to the incident with Asset 3764C?
I do not.
Thank you, Miss Cantor. That will be all. The Council will now call upon Officer Miles Wallace to provide further testimony.
I carefully eyed Wallace as he made his way up toward the front of the relay. He must be scared shitless about now. None of this was exactly panning out the way he more than likely hoped it would. There was absolutely no chance I was going to walk away from this scot-free, but goddamn, I was feeling pretty good about myself.
Officer Wallace, can you provide a detailed account of the events prior and leading up to the incident?
I was tasked with making rounds throughout the server wing aboard the FTV Prophet. There was nothing out of the ordinary that occurred throughout the first half of my shift. I then briefly conversed with Officer Vraz, who was stationed outside of Monitor Lab 7B, before taking my break.
And did you witness Corporal Revport attempt to gain access to the asset, or Officer Vraz granting him entry?
I did not.
This is outrageous. There's security drones posted all throughout that level. Speaker Nix, I can provide insurmountable evidence to prove that he's lying.
Members of the Council, I must apologize for my intrusion, but I must briefly address Corporal Revport's claim. There are, in fact, multiple security drones stationed along the server wing of the FTV Prophet. Unfortunately, due to the brief power surge the vessel suffered, a great majority of those files ended up getting corrupted. Until we can find such evidence, I'm afraid that footage doesn't exist.
The Council will take note of that. Thank you, Officer Deckard. And I must advise you, Corporal, to refrain from interjecting during a formal statement. Failure to do so will result in dire consequences.
Of course. My apologies.
Officer Wallace, let us proceed.
Very well. When I arrived back on the scene, the vessel had briefly lost power. I then heard a weapon discharge from one of the monitor labs, and that's when I witnessed Corporal Revport lying on the ground in front of the VEC unit, and Specialist Cantor with her weapon drawn.
Were you previously aware that Miss Cantor was assigned to that detail?
Yes.
And was the VEC unit still operational by the time you arrived on the scene?
From what I could gather, it didn't appear to be.
Thank you, Officer Wallace. That will be all. The Council will now bring forth further questions for the defendant.
Corporal Revport, did you hold any previous knowledge or information regarding asset number 3764 Charlie?
No, I did not.
Did you have the necessary credentials to present Officer Vraz for entry?
Yes.
Well, that seems to contradict Officer Vraz's report. According to her statements, she denied you entry and suggested that you file out document work with customs.
Yes, she did, but look, I know Bridge Officer Deckard claims that the files from the drones ended up getting corrupted, but the data from the footage can be repathed and tethered.
I believe we've heard all that we've needed to. It is apparent that the defendant did not tamper with the asset in a malicious or nefarious manner. However, there is reasonable concern that Corporal Revport broke standard security clearance procedure. Not to mention the fact that he is capable of activating a VEC unit is of even greater concern, not just to everyone aboard the FTV Prophet, but the entire system.
A concern to the system? If I hadn't discovered this damn thing was still operational, who knows what type of damage it could have inflicted?
And who knows the type of damage you'll be able to inflict with all of the sensitive information that you hold.
I must express my disapproval for you referring to me in that manner.
Now is really not the best time for this.
Who are you speaking to, Corporal?
It's nothing important. Please continue.
After mulling over the evidence, we, the members of the Xium Union Council of Representatives, find Corporal Cyrus James Revport guilty of violating Article 2 of the Xium Trade Agreement and breaching Xium Coalition Standard Security Protocol. You will serve a standard sentence of 5 years at the Halifax Cluster Penitentiary.
5 years? 5 fucking years?
Oh, come on, kid. Don't do this.
You think you could just let me take the fall for your negligence? I'll transmit across every goddamn relay if I have to.